to the Sheppard Fit Farm. I'm B.A. Sheppard, 2 P's A-R-D. Today we're talking about fat. And fat is one of those words that, it's kind of sensitive, and when you say it, people sometimes they get uneasy. But, as a personal trainer, when I'm dealing with people day in and day out, that's one of those words you just want to desensitize, because it can be emotionally charged, but really and truly, fat doesn't have to be this negative thing that's made out to be in society. For my whole entire life, I've been short, and so people tease you about being short, and they make short jokes, and you just gotta live with it. But unlike someone who having to deal with being fat, short is permanent. Can't do nothing about being short. At least when you're dealing with a situation when you're overweight or obese, you're able to make some changes. So be encouraged. Don't let it bother you. Well, let it bother you. Let it bother you enough to change, but at the same time realize it's not permanent. It's not a permanent situation. In anything dealing with weight, it's not permanent. Because in a matter of a couple days and a few weeks, you can transform your body from one way to another way through hard work and dedication. But, I was thinking about how I saw one of those commercials, and the lady is trying to get into her jeans, and maybe you're one of the women that struggle with this sometimes, but she's trying to get into her jeans, and she's shaking and squirming and kicking her feet and flailing away trying to get into these jeans. And it made me think about how in life we contort ourselves to fit in certain situations. We'll shake and squirm and try to squeeze our way into a position that really doesn't fit. Because, she's going through all those different activities to get into jeans that don't fit. They don't fit for where she is, and without her making some changes, she'll never fit into those particular jeans. And if those jeans are her destiny, she's not conditioned for them. And consider how you and I and the people that are around us, so often in life, we will contort ourselves, twist ourselves, and shape ourselves to try to fit in a place that was not destined for us. The question is really, are you in shape? Are you conditioned to fit into your destiny, or are you too fat? And let's think about how this works with our physical bodies. Well, what happens as we eat and we drink, we take in calories. Calories are units of energy that allow us to perform life functions. What happens for most of us is we take in too much energy and we don't burn it off. So what our body does is it stores it to the side to use it at a later time. The problem is most of us have become so sedentary in our activities that we don't burn it off. What we do is we store it to the side, and then we go and eat and drink some more, and then we bring in more, and then we store it to the side because our body doesn't use it. And so now we're building fat upon fat, and we're storing energy that's never used. So it's now in a position that our body has to store it. Most of us, we get it around our waistlines, our hips, our butts, thighs, but our body stores it to use it later, and we ultimately end up with this thing we call fat. Well, same thing applies to your destiny. Same thing applies to the purpose of your life. We go through life situations, and we store these situations as a part of our life. We store them inside our minds. We store them inside our body. And what happens is, one after another, we start to store these things, and without knowing it, just like the food we eat and the calories that we take in, these experiences are shaping our lives. And the experience of shaping our lives, and for most of us, they're getting us either into condition or out of condition. And for most of us, they're getting us out of condition. These experiences are getting us out of the condition of our destiny. We're getting out of shape as it pertains to what our life is destined to do. Perhaps we have passions to do one particular thing, and people are telling us to do something else. And we're hearing these voices telling us what we're supposed to do, and our life is starting to take a different shape in a different direction. I can tell you about me growing up. My family traveled all over, and we lived in different places. I was born in Philadelphia, lived in California, lived in Missouri, back in Philadelphia, North Carolina. I've lived all over. And in that experience, I was able to come in contact with people that made impressions upon my life. I can remember being very young and living in California and going to a particular school. The school's called Walt Disney Elementary School. So you can imagine just the kind of school it was, had all kinds of Disney themes. And so this is really my first introduction to school. And it was not a very diverse school. Actually, I remember there being probably 5 black kids, and one was my sister, and the rest are older, so I didn't really see them. So for all intents and purposes, for me, I saw myself as pretty much being one of the only black kids in school. And it didn't bother me. I didn't know any better. I didn't know differences. I remember having a friend, and during that time, the 49ers were tremendous, and so because I was the only black kid, I got to be Jerry Rice, and he got to be Joe Montana. And so that was cool. And so through sports, we had these bonds and everything, but as I grew up, we moved away from California, we moved to Missouri. I remember going there and things starting to happen differently. I remember being talked about for the way that I talked and being talked about for the way that I dressed. And I remember being called white by other black kids. I remember being called white. And that was the first time I'd ever been called white. I didn't know why, but that made an impression on me. I knew I wasn't necessarily the coolest kid, and that was okay, but I remember getting into that middle range of elementary school and having people talk about me for being smart, for doing my homework, for raising my hand and participating in class. But what stuck out to me was I remember for the first time being called white. And I didn't know that to be a bad thing, but I knew I wasn't white, and so I knew that they were putting me down. And at that time, it wasn't really important to me, but I just knew that it wasn't something that felt right. I remember one day these boys came to my house to fight me because I acted white, and I was different. I participated in class. I wasn't cool and all these things, and they came to my house to fight me. And that made an impression on me. And then growing up from that situation, I remember then starting to get talked about. I remember getting teased because I participated in class. I wanted to achieve in the classroom. Well, I didn't necessarily even have to want to. My parents made me achieve. That was their deal. If I brought home, a C, I couldn't play baseball. So my grades were going to be good. But the fact of the matter was, I started being ridiculed for who I was. And I remember that it started to change me. Did I still do well in school? Yes. But I started to realize that I started to change to try to fit in a little bit. I would try to play myself down in order that others around me would feel comfortable. And that's what happens. It happens really subtle, but I knew if I didn't participate in class so much, if I didn't shine so bright, I wouldn't have as many problems. I could get by. But you and I, we're not destined to get by. We're destined to be exceptional. Your life has purpose that's set apart for you alone to be exceptional. But people around us sometimes, they get afraid of our shine and they want to dull us down. They want to threaten who we are so that our shine doesn't outshine theirs. And somehow, in these situations, I grew up in these things impacted my mind. But all I knew was on the inside, I was comfortable in these situations. I was comfortable being around white people or Asian people or Spanish people. I was comfortable being around any people. And so the way my life was set up was helping me, because later on in life, as I grew up, I would be able to be in an atmosphere with anyone and I would feel comfortable. See, little did I know at that time I was being shaped for my destiny. I was being shaped that I could walk into any conference room or any boardroom, into any meeting, and not feel ashamed of who I was. I've come to find out now that, you know what? Being called white was an insult to me, not because it was something about white people, but it was an insult to me because the color of my skin had nothing to do with the amount of intellect that I had. And somehow these people were telling me that only white people were brilliant. But that's not true. And so growing up in that, it was shaping me, but I came to find out that it wasn't true. That we all have brilliance, whether we be white or black or whatever our nationality may be. We're all brilliant in our own way. But those things were shaping me. And still to this day, sometimes I'll wrestle with that shine thing. Sometimes when you begin to shine and you see how other people are reacting, I still feel it rise up inside of me, but yet I have to still shine. In the environment that I'm given to shine, and I'm supposed to shine, I'm destined to shine, and it's not what I've asked to do, it's what I've been created to do. It's the same for you. Where you're created to shine, where you're created to flourish, you didn't ask for that. It's what you were given and created to do. So what you have to do is, just like when it comes to our bodies, we have to burn off those extra calories. In our minds, we have to burn away those thoughts that are causing us to be fat in our thinking, causing us to be overweight, causing us to carry more than we have to, trying to fit into our destiny. If you're carrying excess trying to get into your destiny, you won't fit. So you want to trim away those things that will not help you get to where you're going. Those things that are going to take you away, you got to cut that stuff away so that you can fit into your destiny. Burn the calories. You're destined to dominate. But now is the time for you to exercise your inner greatness. It's time for you to exercise the dominance that was given to your life. Don't hold back because someone else isn't comfortable. It's time for you to move forward. I'm B.A. Sheppard. Look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Sheppard Fit Farm. Have a great day.